Mountain View High School. I did my internship this semester at a law firm for workers' comp called Speed, Seda, Martin, and Trivet. I did a total of 86 hours this semester, and I have 3 more tomorrow. Okay, so some of my responsibilities were sorting out new files. So when a new file would come in, it would just be a bunch of like random documents and pages printed out in a completely random order. And I would have to pretty much go through, sort out any duplicates, and then sort out like the different types of files. So there were like billing and medical records and board forms, which are the forms that everyone has to fill out, and are pretty much all the rules that have to be followed. A ton of mailing and copying. The first day that I got there, I wound up working with a woman named Francesca, and we had to copy a file, and it took about 3 hours to do. And it was probably a couple thousand pages that we had to copy so that it could be sent to the opposing counsel. Wow. So I did that, like a lot of copying, scanning, faxing. I'd spend a good portion of my time in the mailroom. And then entering medical records. So once they get the medical records, they go into Case Wizard, which is like their database, and you would have to enter like just different information like changes, what the patient would say about their pain and like how it felt, and just like whatever was going on with them, and like the doctor's perspective on it, so that lawyers can go back through and have like access to it more easily. And then refile. Once you copy the documents, you have to put them back into these huge rooms of files, and a person could have anywhere from like a very thin file to one that took up several file folders, like very thick file folders. And so I would help go through those, have to sort them in date order by person, so that Maria, her job is to do refile all the time, she could go back through and put them back into the files that they correspond to. So one of the main things for me was that I was able to get a real idea of what it's like to work at a law firm and to work in a professional environment, which was a really good experience, I think. It gave me a very real perspective on you have to be on time, you have to like know what you're doing, and like just be able to pay attention, remember what the tasks are. Like I would have to occasionally do a 200 letter, which is Rule 200 for attorneys. And so that was pretty, it's where if you get new medical records, you have to send them to the opposing counsel so that the opposing counsel can either approve or deny like your ability to use those files. And so you'd have to write letters that would go on the front of them, and you just have to like remember what you, like how to set that up. And then I also learned a lot about like workers' compensation itself. When I got there the first day for my internship, I mean, I knew like workers' compensation, you get paid if you get an injury, but I didn't really know what goes into it. And so I've been able to learn a lot about it. Last week, my mom actually hurt her back at work, and she was kind of freaking out about the idea of having to use workers' compensation, and I was able to actually like calm her down, tell her like this is how it works. And I think that's one of the best ways to know if you've learned something, is if you can kind of teach it to somebody else and explain it to them, explain how it works, like what they have to do and like what goes into it on the different sides of it. I also learned what goes into building the file and case, which is again a lot of like billing, medical records, different forms, every piece of correspondence that goes from anybody related to the case. You wind up getting these like huge stacks of paper that seem completely useless and probably won't be used unless there's like the off chance that they wind up being needed, and you still got to keep those. And then, like I said, the Rule 200 for lawyers to send medical records. And then just learning about like what the medical records are, what they look like. It actually sparked an interest in medicine for me. So, did you just skip one?
This one was next, personal learning.
Okay, so personal learning, I have a tendency to be a little bit of a pessimist about things, but I learned like how much easier the days are and how much better my days will be if I just have a positive attitude. I'd be stuck in the copy room for like hours at a time with literally just like stacks of paper to mail, copy, fax, whatever. And so keeping a positive attitude, finding ways to make the thing go faster, like seeing how quickly I can do it correctly, so that I wouldn't have to spend as much time, or since I like music so much, I'd hum a lot just to kind of keep my spirits up so that I wouldn't get bored. And then being able to work with people in a professional environment. I've had several people that I work with on a regular basis, just helping them out with like their mail and things like that, and I've been able to kind of like build those relationships. Like I've been able to talk to people about like how their day is, how their significant other kids are doing. It's just kind of cool to be able to build those relationships with people who are now suddenly more your peers than just like your elders, even though they are older than you. So my impact on my future career, a career in law suddenly became more real for me. I'd always been told I'd make a really good lawyer since I was really little because I'm so literal, and that's just kind of how I am. Like I've always been told I'd be a good lawyer. So, but it never really seemed real to me, or really any profession. I couldn't see like those 5-10 years in the future, like what I'm going to be doing, being able to work, like having that. It always just kind of seemed like a blank space, and it kind of just became more real. And then the medical records, being able to look at those kind of sparked an interest in medicine for me. Like I just found it really interesting to look through them to see like the different conditions and how people like can be injured but how they can still heal, and like how that healing process works, and how it can either take a really long time or it can happen really fast. And so I'm actually hoping to try next year for a medical internship at either a children's hospital or a pediatrician's office, since I love working with kids.